Welcome to another chilling story on this channel. Tonight's tale is one that will send shivers down your spine. A true story from the heart of Europe, about a terrifying encounter with a mysterious spirit, a Lucia, who, despite her ominous presence, harbored a strange affection for the storyteller. Alexander, a 25-year-old man from a small town nestled in the Swiss Alps, had lived there all his life. This story, however, takes him back to a time 4 years ago, just before his brother's wedding. At that time, Alexander was studying in Zurich, and it was the night before the wedding when he decided to travel back home. Little did he know, this night would be anything but ordinary. He left Zurich at 10 p.m., as he always preferred to travel at night. He had booked a special car, and along with him, 2 passengers from the Alps had joined the ride. The journey was supposed to be peaceful. It was a 4-hour drive, with nothing but mountains surrounding them. But something felt off. As they drove, Alexander began to feel a sudden, intense headache. He decided to sleep through the pain, hoping the drive would pass quickly. When he woke up, they had already entered the outskirts of his town. He felt relieved, thinking the worst was over. But as the car dropped off the other passengers, he found himself alone with the driver, and that's when things started to take a strange turn. They stopped at a small, run-down hotel on the outskirts of the town. It was the only place with a bathroom on their route. The hotel was dirty, and there was barely any hygiene maintained. But Alexander needed to freshen up. He decided to do his ablution outside in the open, not trusting the filthy restroom. He had no idea that the next few minutes would leave him feeling more than just discomfort. As he completed his ablution, a chill ran through him. The air turned heavy, the silence unsettling. And as they resumed their journey, little did he know that something was watching him. By the time they arrived in the small town of Pizol, Alexander felt an intense sense of unease. He stepped out of the car and decided to stay at a nearby church. It was late, around 1 a.m., and the place was eerily quiet. He had no idea what he was about to encounter. He began praying in the church, and as he was in the ruku, bowing position, he heard something that froze him in place. He heard breathing, heavy and deliberate, right in front of him. But when he looked up, no one was there. His heart raced, and a sudden fear overwhelmed him. He continued his prayers, hoping to ignore the sensation that someone was watching. But as soon as he finished, he heard a voice calling his name. A sweet, almost loving voice. He was too terrified to react. Was this a spirit? A ghost? He grabbed the Bible from the shelf, trying to calm himself. As he stepped outside, the sound of footsteps echoed behind him. He rushed out of the church, his feet barely touching the ground. The fear gripped him harder than ever. The night felt colder, and the path seemed longer than usual. He found himself walking deeper into the town, but the quiet was unsettling. It felt like the streets were too silent, too still. He decided to stop by a small park and rest on a bench, hoping the anxiety would pass. But as he sat there, he noticed something moving in the shadows. A figure appeared, slowly walking toward him. He could barely make out the shape, but he knew something wasn't right. The figure slowly approached, and to his horror, it was a woman dressed in dark, flowing robes, her face hidden behind a veil. Her presence seemed to weigh down the air around him, and he could feel a chill running down his spine. He stood up, instinctively wanting to run, but his legs wouldn't move. It was as if he was rooted to the spot, unable to break free from her gaze. The woman reached out to him, and in that moment, he heard her whisper his name. He didn't know how long he stood there, unable to speak, unable to move. But suddenly, the figure disappeared, as though swallowed by the night. The fear left him, but only temporarily. He decided to leave the park, feeling like he was being watched, knowing that something was following him. He finally reached the outskirts of town and decided to stay at a nearby inn. As he entered the room, he locked the door behind him and tried to calm himself. The night seemed to stretch on forever, and sleep eluded him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. The following morning, he woke up to a strange sensation. The room felt colder than usual, and he could hear whispers in the air. He checked the room for any signs of disturbance, but everything seemed normal. He decided to leave the inn and go for a walk to clear his head. As he walked through the town's narrow streets, he passed by the church where he had prayed the previous night. A strange feeling washed over him, and he couldn't help but glance at the windows. And then he saw her again. The woman in the dark robes, standing by the church, watching him. He quickly turned away, his heart racing. He didn't know what to do. The spirit was no longer hiding. She was revealing herself to him, and for reasons he couldn't comprehend, she was attached to him. Later that day, he met with an elder from the town, someone who had lived there all his life. The elder explained to him that Lucia, the spirit who had been following him, was not a malevolent force. She had formed a connection with him, one that went deeper than he could understand. The elder said she was drawn to his kindness, his purity, and she had come to protect him, though her presence was unsettling. Since that day, Alexander had never seen her again. But there were moments, when he was alone, that he felt her watching over him. Sometimes, he heard her voice whispering his name in the wind. It was no longer a terrifying experience. It felt familiar. He had learned to live with her presence, and as strange as it sounded, he felt at peace knowing that she was there, somewhere, watching over him. Well, friends, that was his experience. He hoped it had been as chilling for them as it was for him. He reminded everyone that not everything in this world could be explained. Sometimes, the truth was stranger than fiction. He encouraged them to like, share, and subscribe for more scary stories. He wished them safety and urged them to keep their faith strong.